A man once went to his doctor and he told the doctor, "I'm depressed. Life is harsh, life is cruel, life is unforgiving." The doctor told him, "I have the best solution." He said, "Tonight there is a clown that is coming to town and his name is Pagliacci. You're going to go to that clown and he's going to cheer you up and everything will be okay." And the man began to burst in tears. He said, No, doctor, I can't do that." He said, "Why?" He said, "I am Pagliacci." There are points in our lives that we all feel like Pagliacci. We are supposed to be cheering up everybody else, but when is it time for somebody to help uplift our spirits? I heard that joke last week on a bus from Tel Aviv to Haifa when I was on my way to be part of the Voice of the People's Council, an initiative put together by President Isaac Herzog of Israel of 150 Jews from around the world representing the diversity of the Jewish people. The person next to me was a comedy writer from Canada, and I asked him, I said, "Tell me a joke that I can tell my congregation next week that will start the sermon." Little did I know that was a joke, but it was the reality of so much of what we have felt recently and over these past over 500 days. There were 150 of us in Haifa, 50 from North America, 50 Jews from the state of Israel, and 50 from the rest of the world. This may sound strange, but each one of us was chosen by an algorithm, literally an algorithm, to match the Jewish world. Suffice to say, there were not many rabbis in the room. But let me tell you who was in the room, just a few. Israeli AI specialists, a doctor from Sweden, an Ethiopian Jew, a Mexican social worker, a German filmmaker, IDF veterans, a Persian Jew from Britain who field is expert in foreign policy with Iran, Google executives, academic professors, and philanthropists. We all looked at each other on the first day of this reception in Haifa and we said, "I don't understand how we're in this room together." And then the council was presented with data. There was a survey that was sent out to the entire Jewish world, and 10,000 people, 10,000 Jews, self-identifying Jews, responded. And from those 10,000 responses, the president of Israel's office boiled that information down to 4 problems that the Jewish world faces today. None of what I'm about to tell you is or should be a surprise. This is not in any particular order in terms of how they're rated, but the 4 were anti-Semitism, polarization from within communities, Israel and diaspora or global Jewry relations, and the last task force that I'm involved with, Jewish and non-Jewish relations. And what you realized when you took a step back from what you brought into this group was that the Jewish lived experience, depending on where you are, is very different. If you're a Jew in LA, it's different than a Jew in Kansas, Mexico, Madrid, Morocco, or even the land of Israel. And yet, with all of these differences that the council was bringing us, the most fascinating data point was this, that a majority, and a very large majority of those respondents, said that every single Jew around the world has a shared destiny, and the center point of that destiny is Israel, both the land, but as importantly, the people. As Allegra so beautifully taught us this morning about the Ner Tamid, the eternal light that sits above our ark, it's the mitzvah to ensure that that light above our ark is eternal, tamid, always. But the rabbis ask, how is that so? How can that light always be on? Maybe it should be on only when we need it. Maybe it should be on only when it's dark. But a beautiful interpretation by Rashi tells us that the Ner Tamid must be kindled until the flame can ascend itself. That means we have to light it until it is already eternally lit. A later commentator, the Or HaChaim, gives a more spiritual dimension. And in that same pasuk, same verse in the Torah that tells us to light the Ner Tamid, it says, La Ma'or. It should be for light. Meaning when the Jews have been in exile outside of the land of Israel for thousands of years, there's always been some type of spiritual darkness within our souls. Our light has diminished. He could have been speaking about these last few years. Yet for this mitzvah, Orach Chaim tells us that God wants Moses to aspire to eternity, that the people of Israel should never experience that spiritual darkness again. And so just a few examples from this week in Israel that truly demonstrate that this is not just a light above our physical ark, but it is a spiritual light among our people. Last Shabbat, I had the good fortune of spending with my family right outside of Tel Aviv in the religious community. The synagogue is only 5 houses away from my cousin's home, but we took a tour, if you wish, from house to house, and it went like this. My cousin said, "See this house?" It was her next door neighbor. "It's under renovation." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because the son of those people, he's now an amputee from the war in Gaza. They need an elevator to get him from the first to the second floor." The next house, I said, "Yes. You see this house? It's a bereaved family of another soldier, also killed during this past war." "See this house?" I said, "Yes. This is the aunt of Eitan Mor, Eitan Ephraim ben Efrat. Eitan is still in Gaza as one of the captive. I met his father on Shabbat afternoon. He handed me this piece of paper that I promised I would hold up to you, because 2 weeks ago they received signs of life from Eitan. God willing, he will be home soon." And then we got to the synagogue, and there was a young rabbi, younger than me. He said he just started 2 years ago, but on his first Shabbat, what happened? He was called up from reserve duty, and so his start was a bit delayed to protect his people and our people. And I thought to myself, Ner Tamid? This is eternal light for our people? But then I walked into the synagogue, and after the Friday night beautiful Kabbalat Shabbat service, as we were walking home, I heard echoing house to house the same words that we sing every Friday night. Shalom Aleichem. Each one of these homes with terrible circumstances have the courage to still welcome the angels into their midst. And after dinner with the windows open, I heard dozens and dozens of children running freely throughout the streets, going to their tefillat yiladim, to their children's prayers, to their study of Torah. And last Saturday night, as Rabbi Guzik explained, I took those cards that Allegra and her friends from school wrote to other children 7,000 miles away. My cousin blown away that kids here would even be thinking about kids there. The Ner Tamid, an eternal light that we are. On Sunday morning, before the conference commenced at Kfar Maccabiyah, right in Ramat Gan, I attended 2 Shiva Minyanim. The first was for Oded Lifshitz, 84 years old, who was returned not alive, but rather in a casket. And I went into that room and I saw somebody familiar, somebody that I had only seen on TV before. His wife Yocheved, one of the first hostages released. And I went up to her and shook her hand. I said, on behalf of Sinai Temple, Kihilat Sinai Temple, Beit Knesset Los Angeles, a synagogue in Los Angeles, Hamakom minatchem etchem. We give you comfort. Oded was very good friends with Amiram Cooper of blessed memory, who's still in Gaza, whose niece Rona Passman is a member of this synagogue, a hostage that we have adopted this year. And not in the next house, but in the next room at this conference center was the Shiva for the Bibas family. These lights that we have that have been on since last week. And there I shook the hand of the great-grandfather of Kfir and Ariel Bibas. And I said those same words to him. And I watched as hundreds and hundreds of people who did not know this family but knew them just like us lined up to tell them that we are the Ner Tamid, that we are that eternal light, that we must never forget to raise up and shine brighter. As I left those Shiva minions, I was saddened, and I asked myself, how could I now attend a conference after moments like these? But it was that inspiration in my mind of the Ner Tamid that grounded my journey for what I was about to experience. President Isaac Herzog, in his newest article just released a couple of days ago in Sapir Journal, writes this. He says, "I have a radical suggestion that Zionism was and remains a structural container of Jewish diversity. That Zionism was not meant only for that physical land of Israel, but it was a spiritual container for all of the ideas. It should be a conceptual home secure for us to hold debate." The president told all of us that we were not gathering just to talk to each other and have conversation, but the conversation would be a means to actively contend with our challenges and to spark a growth for the state and the people of Israel. And then he said this, which was what this conference was about. He says, "You will not go home to your communities around the world with any solutions, but you will go home with something else. You will go home as a Jew who will fall in love. You will fall in love with the Jewish people's problems." That's what we did. And so the next day, they took us to a place called Madatech. It's at the Technion. It's the Center of Science and Technology, and we met with 6 different CEOs of Israeli startups. And they didn't talk to us about their success. But you know what they did. They talked to us about their failures that led them to solve some of the great problems of this world. Ask Daria Blumenthal of the Vision Company how she is going to help cure glaucoma, of Belkin Vision. She tried to do it the first time with a special machine through laser surgery, but she failed. But because she failed, she understood the solution. And just a few minutes ago, after talking to Dr. David Pekal on the Bima with us, he said that he, David, right behind me, was one of the first doctors in California to purchase that Israeli technology recently. Ask the young executive who we met from an organization called Bee Hero that helps save millions of bees in hives so that it can be pollination with the agriculture so that it can eventually save millions of lives around the world. And he said he was down to his last dollar in funding. He failed, and when he failed, he found the solution that has now saved millions of lives. We have lots of problems, and we're going to have plenty more in the future. But the vision of the President of Israel to bring us together was that the knowledge of the Jewish people are the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, across denomination, across gender, across geography, and across the generations. The Ner Tamid must not only be lit individually by every one of us, but it should be collectively by all of the people representing millions of Jews around the world that I met. It will take the entire tent of Zionism to know each other, as the president told us, to speak to each other, to declare that we must fall in love with our problems in order one day maybe, to find a solution. At our closing dinner, President Herzog stood up and he said, "It is past time to appreciate that diversity is a source of strength of our Zionism and a key to our future as a nation." As he said these words, behind him on the stage, 4 of the participants walked out. They stood on the stage behind him, and this is who they were. A Chabad rabbi from Rostov, Russia. A Moroccan young woman from an interfaith family with a Muslim parent and a Jewish parent who today spread Zionism to the countries of the Abrahamic Accords. An Israeli IDF veteran and an American poet. After 4 days together visiting the Nova Festival site and intellectually stimulating conversations, they took a turn reading a poem that the American poet read, and its poem of inspiration. Seamlessly flowing one into the other was English and Arabic and Russian and Hebrew within the framework of our goal, the shared destiny of our people. I looked at this picture, and the picture has been now shown in the press, and I knew it was clear. Through all that we have been through over these last over 500 days, the Ner Tamid is still lit. It's lit because of people like you, and like you, and like you, and like us. So let's join that conversation. Let's lead with light. Yes, let's fall in love with the problems of our amazing people, because when we do, our next generation will be able to fall in love with the solutions. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.